Hi friends, welcome to my presentation, Things I Didn't Know About Hops Until I Experienced Hop Harvest in Yakima Valley. I'm doing this as my way to pay forward for the amazing scholarship that I participated in last year. And without further ado, let us begin. Just to tell you briefly about the scholarship itself, that was the very first time that Pin Boot Society and Yakima Chief came together to create this kind of scholarship. And there was 5 of us, and the scholarship took place between 6th and 10th of September 2022 in Yakima, Washington. The farms and facilities we visited are ADAJ, Roy Farms, CLS Farms, Haas, Hopsteiner, Loftus Ranches, Morier Ranches, and Yakima Chief Ranches. We've also brewed a beer in collaboration with Single Hill Brewing. We've named it Five Sisters, and it won gold medal at 2022 Best of Craft Beer Awards Fresh Hop Competition in Bend, Oregon. So that's pretty cool. Quickly about myself, my name is Natalia. I am from Poland and I live in Vancouver, BC, where I work as a brewer at Granville Island Brewing. I am an advanced Cicerone, BJCP recognized, and I also have the General Certificate in Brewing from IBD in London. And the very first thing I'm going to talk about is that it takes approximately 12 years to develop a single hop varietal. So here I've got this very simplified process of developing a hop varietal. So we start with crossbreeding and then move on to field trials, which include greenhouse, single hill, multiple plots. Then there's sensory analysis, and lastly, intellectual property protection. And I will explain a little bit each of these steps. So, developing a new hop variety typically involves crossbreeding 2 or more existing hop varieties to create a new plant with desirable characteristics such as disease resistance, yield, flavor, aroma, and alpha acid content. This process takes several years as each cross must be carefully evaluated and selected for further breeding. So in the pictures on the left side you can see the little tiny hop plants. They are all kept, as you can see in the middle picture, they are all kept in various mediums under special conditions that is in the lab of Yakima Chief branches. And the picture on the right, that tiny little hop is native to Japan and has some properties that might be interesting for researchers. Okay, and here we've got field trials. So once a new hop variety is created, it must be planted and grown in test plots to evaluate its performance under different growing conditions, including soil type, climate, and irrigation. These trials typically take several years to complete, as multiple seasons of growth are necessary to evaluate the plant's overall health, yield, and quality. So that's another step in the process that is really time consuming, because we do need to test that every plant, every new variety we develop performs well in all the conditions it will be subjected to. In the pictures on the left hand side you can see the little baby hop plants in this space where they are being misted pretty much constantly. Then the picture in the middle, I think those are a little bit older plants, and they are already outside from what I can remember. And then the picture on the right, these are, I believe, in the greenhouse. So you can see those are all different different conditions in which we keep those plants, or the plants are being kept, to test for all those various things that we've just discussed. Sensory analysis. In addition to field trials, new hop varieties must also be evaluated for their sensory characteristics such as aroma, flavor, and bitterness. This requires trained sensory panels to evaluate the hops in beer and other products, which can take several years to complete. Again, another part of the hop varietal development that takes a long time, because not only we need to evaluate every single hop varietal as it is, but also in beer as well. And here in the pictures on the left, we can see fresh hops just being ready to be evaluated by, I think, us, me and my colleagues during the scholarship. The picture in the middle is just a beautiful hop crown that I've picked from a vine during our field trip. And here the last picture on the right hand side are just the various hop samples, fresh hop samples, just ready to be sensory analyzed. And lastly, we've got the intellectual protection, and there's various ways to do this. So I will tell you about some of them. First, we've got plant breeders' rights, which allows plant breeders to have exclusive rights over the production, sale, and distribution of a new variety of plant for a certain period of time. And the example of hop that has been developed with this PBR is Sabra. Next, we've got patents. So plant patents can be granted for new, distinct, and non-obvious varieties of plants that have been asexually propagated, which means they are genetically identical to the parent plant. This type of protection can be used to safeguard innovative methods of producing or using hops. And the hop that has been patented is Citra. And lastly, we've got trademarks. And they can also be used to protect the names and logos associated with hops or hop-related products. This allows companies to differentiate their products from those of their competitors and create brand recognition. And an example for this is Cascade. All right. Next one, Neomexicanus. I didn't know about that. I have never heard of that. Apparently, I didn't know very much about hops at all. So here I can tell you a little bit about that. To quote from CLS Farms website, very few hops can boast being pure, wild, and American. These rebel hops are native to the mountains of New Mexico. They weren't crossed with conventional varieties by early settlers or developed by white coats in a lab. They figured it out all on their own right here in the real world. And here you can see the map of the US, and New Mexico, the red one over here, is where those hops are indigenous to. So that's a whole different subspecies of hop plant, and the actual name of it is Humulus lupulus variety Neomexicanus. So that's a whole different, it's got different genetics than Humulus lupulus. It doesn't come from, it does have the same background, but it did evolve separately to all the other hops that we know about today. And CLS Farms cultivates two of these hops. One of them is Medusa. This is the logo of it. And Zappa. This is a picture of, I believe that was a beer made by Sierra Nevada with using that hop. And so those are property of CLS farms, and in the picture on the left hand side you can see, I believe, some of the Medusa hops are growing on the vine. Okay, and yes, so I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, but I will read you some of the facts that I wrote down. So they are genetically, Neomercitanus are genetically distinct subspecies of hops. They do not trace its heritage back to European hop lineage, as we've mentioned. First discovered in the late 1990s by a researcher named Todd Bates, who was studying wild hop plants in New Mexico. Prized by brewers for the intense flavor and aroma. They also tend to have a lower alpha acid content than traditional hop varieties. Have genetic diversity. Unlike many other hop varieties, which have been selectively bred over time to produce consistent flavors and aromas, Neomercitanus hops exhibit a wide range of characteristics depending on their growing conditions and the specific plant genetics. This has led to the development of several different Neomercitanus hop varieties, each with its own unique flavor and aroma profile. They are still relatively rare in the brewing world, as they can be difficult to cultivate and are not widely available. Okay, and then the next fun fact I learned are cover crops. So I have no background in agriculture. I don't know much about farming or plant cultivation, and so I didn't know about cover crops being a thing. So cover crops are plants that grow in between hop rows or in other spaces of a hop field, like those here. And benefits of cover crops include soil health. They can improve soil structure, fertility, and add organic matter content by adding nutrients. Erosion control. The roots of cover crops help hold soil in place, especially during heavy rain or storms. Weed suppression. They compete with wheat for resources, which means less herbicides. Pest management. Smoke cover crops such as clover or fava beans can attract insects that prey on pests. I think I meant some cover crops, not smoke cover crops. Apologies. And lastly, biodiversity. They can provide habitat for beneficial insects, birds, and other wildlife. And cover crops fun facts. There's two types of cover crops, winter and spring. Only about 20% of hop industry uses one type. Hardly anyone uses two. But Loftus Farm does. For spring cover, they use grass and sweet clover, like this. For winter cover, they use winter rye, radishes, and sweet clover, such as that, radishes on the left, winter rye on the right. Cover crops help reducing carbon footprint by putting carbon back to soil. Very interesting. All right, next up is sustainability. I've also learned a lot about that. Some commonly implemented ways among the farms we visited that positively contribute to overall sustainability of hop agriculture are composting all leftover organic matter to make a fertilizer, being B Corp certified, and I believe all the farms we visited are B Corp certified, which basically means they commit to very high standards of treatment, not only of their employees, but also environment in many different ways. In addition, Roy Farms has incorporated 2 large solar panel arrays to provide for 100% solar-powered pellets. They also grow a variety of organic hops, as well as organic blueberries and apples. We love to see that. And they also practice biomass burning, capturing energy from burning to power their greenhouse. And also every lot is global GAP or GAP, salmon safe and kosher certified. So you can tell that they are committed to doing, good by our planet. On the other hand, Loftus Farms has 1,300 solar panels. Their goal is to keep adding solar panels until they're able to run 100% off of solar panel electricity. 80% of all the energy at the moment on the farm comes from solar panels. So they're not too far off their target. They're also the biggest user of solar panels in the state of Washington, which I think is amazing. They're also the only, or one of very few farms left that still uses natural fibers for bales. They're made from these fibers are made from jute plant in Sri Lanka and not from plastic. So here in the picture you can see bales, and if we could zoom in a little bit, which I don't think I can, but you can see that they are made from a fabric rather than a plastic packaging, which is obviously so much more environmentally responsible. And 95% of their packaging is recyclable or compostable, which is amazing. That is so good. Okay, and here I've got a fun fact about dual purpose hops. So dual purpose hops are hops that are primarily grown for their high alpha acid content, but can also be used for aroma and flavors. For example, Chinook or Cascade. So they do both. This is a practical choice for many farmers in Yakima Valley at least. Wildfires occur frequently during warm months and they can be extreme. If the hops get smoke taint, the dual purpose varieties can still be used to make hop oil extract instead of needing to be disposed of. And here on the right in the picture, that's me, I believe, coming back from Yakima Valley or flying somewhere around Vancouver last summer, and all of this white that you can see here, those are not clouds, this is smoke. So if you don't live in the areas that get wildfires during the summer, it gets pretty bad here. And I obviously, until that scholarship, I haven't thought for a moment that I just didn't connect the dots of wildfires and plant like hop agriculture, and that the hops will retain some of the smokiness, which of course is not desirable for the brewers. And so the dual purpose hops, they, aside from being fantastic for brewing purposes because of course the the bitterness and the aroma, but they also are very practical for the farmers because if all your hop crops get smoke tainted, maybe at least you can salvage some by making that hop oil. Yes, and okay, so I think those were my main points. And here I've got just some other odd and random things. So we brewed 100% fresh hop beer. In the pictures you can see here from the left, that's how we went to pick up our fresh hops. They are just being transported into the kiln, and we just stored them before they made their way into the kiln to be dried and then palletized. Here you can see one of the brewers of Single Hill Brewing just shoveling some of the fresh hops in the kiln, and here's me trying to carry that heavy bag of hops up the steps to the brew house. And because we made that beer 100% with fresh hops, we got to palletize some of the fresh hops. So I've never seen this equipment being used, but here you can see from the left hand side. So basically you feed fresh hops here for the top, and the nitrogen is connected to it, and the hops run through like a little press, little mill, and they get squeezed into the pellets instantly. And so we feed hops one way, and the machine shoots out the ready pellets, and you have to stir it up constantly as not to burn the hops. Even though the nitrogen is there for the cooling purposes, it still produces a lot of energy, and sometimes it happens that some of the pellets get a little bit burned. And here is just some more fresh hops. And we also got to visit Sensory Lab and attend sensory workshop at Hasbart Academy. We got to visit YCH, Yakima Chief Hops Sensory Lab. As you can see here on the left hand side, that is inside of the sensory lab. I've never been to one previously, so this was also very new to me. But basically, you can see all those small cubicles, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Each of them, every person doing the sensory analysis will sit inside one of those cubicles, and on the wall there is a window, and behind the window on the other side there is a person, and the person passes you samples of hops to be evaluated, and you retrieve them inside your cubicle. Now the light is red so that you can't see the color of the hops, because in a red light you can't really tell the color very well. So the hops are just kind of, they're just kind of brown or whatever color, but you can't it won't influence your opinion on hops just looking at the color, because you can't see the color. And then you proceed with the sensory analysis, to which they have a little app on their phone or on like a iPad kind of thing. And then once you're done, you ring the bell, the light comes on, and the window opens. The person takes away the already analyzed hop sample and passes you a new hop sample, and it goes on and on and on for the whole harvest, and probably beyond that too. It was pretty cool to experience that, and actually really, really difficult to analyze hops at all, and not even mention in such big quantities as they do in Yakima during the harvest. And here you can also see our hands all green from constantly rubbing hops and sniffing them. And we also witnessed every stage of hop harvest, from cutting the bines, separating the cones, kilning, baling, pelletizing, and even hop oil extraction. So one of my favorite sites in Yakima Valley, aside from obviously hops growing in the field, was that picture on the left hand side, just the trucks full of hops driving each way. I think it just looks so magical and so beautiful. I just think hop cones and plants are really pretty. So obviously that's how the hops get transported to the facility. Then you can see here they are hanged on this crane kind of thing, and then they go through the process of, the cones are separated from the bines, and so on and so on. Oh, here you can see some other pictures. Here in the middle you can see the hop cones are being separated, and they're going one way, and all the remaining vegetal matter is going the other way. Here on the left hand side we can see hops just being turned into bales, and on the right hand side those are all fresh hops on the floor, on the special floor where they are supposed to be, and this is a forklift for the scale. So you can imagine, and that's just from one day, and that's just one variety at one of the farms. So you can just imagine how many hops there is. And that is it. Here on the left hand side you can see this is 5 of us with a couple of ladies from, I believe, ADAJ farms. I don't want to be wrong, but with the mountain of fresh hops behind us. And the very last picture is myself drinking a fresh hop West Coast Pilsner at Bale Breaker, I believe. Anyway, I just thought it was a vibe. There's hops, the beer is delicious. It was such a good trip. It was such an amazing scholarship. I'm really grateful for the whole experience, and thank you so much one more time, Pin Boot Society and Yakima Chief, for making this happen. And yeah, to whomever didn't attend any of the Pin Boot Society scholarships, please do it because it's amazing. It's such a great way to learn and then share your knowledge and meet amazing people in the industry, and I definitely recommend that. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching the presentation and spending time with me. I hope I didn't make too many mistakes, although I believe it's possible because I was a bit nervous to record it. But yes, one more time, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so much.